Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. And today we are talking about stepping into your greatness. I saw this quote, I think they said it was Jimmy Carter, and paraphrasing a little bit, I think I almost got it, but what he said was, people tend to be envious of what we create in life, but they're not envious of the path it took, what it took from us to get there. And that really landed for me. It's such an interesting thing. I've been, one of the things I love about working with clients now, while I'm sharing stuff on the podcast, while creating new curriculum, is I get a real kind of heartbeat on what people are experiencing. And I work with a lot of people that are stepping into their greatness. They're always looking at bringing the next level of themselves. And there's a theme right now of, like this mixture between, what the people that are not wanting to take the steps to move into their greatness would call abandonment, but the people that are stepping into their greatness would call stepping forward, really to, they're choosing what they want in life. They're going after it. And it creates a really interesting dynamic of the path that we need to take in order to get there, and the way people respond to us that are not willing to take that path. And so this is going to bring up some interesting conversation. And so a little bit of a trigger alert, because, I think a lot of us that are in personal development, and I know I've been through phases of that in my life where we're like, God, I know what's in front of me. I know what the next steps are, but I'm not taking them yet. Or maybe I'm not taking them because people around me aren't ready for me to take them, and I'm not willing to, kind of deal with that pushback yet. And, when we're dealing not just with our own fears, but the fears of people around us, it requires a doubling down on, I'm going after what it is that I'm here to do. I'm going after creating what I'm here to create in my life, and what's going to bring my fulfillment, what's going to bring my passion, my greatest gifts coming through, and the biggest difference I can make in the world. And so as you're listening today, the intention of this is to be inspiring, but there's also, a potential for trigger here. And I hope if it does show up triggering for you, that you go, well, shit, this is my wake-up call, not a anger, not a, we'll talk about what are the tactics people use to try to keep us stuck. And what are the tactics we use to try to keep ourselves stuck. And so welcome, Nick. How you doing today?
Good. Good morning, David.
Yeah, you like the trigger alert?
I think the trigger alert is warranted. It's a little self-awareness around reaction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And why are we moving forward, and why aren't we moving forward? Because there's our stuff, and then there's the stuff of the people around us. And it's amazing how many people right now I've been talking with that one of two things is happening. So basically, it's resulting in them moving forward in some powerful way. But it's either people around them are what they feel like is abandoning them, are disconnecting from them, from their lives. And those were the people that were keeping them from moving forward. Or the situation happens, they lose a job, or something shifts in their life. And now the thing they were using to keep themselves from moving forward has actually exited on its own from their life. Or they're choosing to move forward and going, well, shit, like, man, there's people around me that are coming up with some really intense stories about me by me choosing this forward movement, and by me not being willing to stay in a situation or in a smaller version of myself. And, it really puts us in an experience of real having to have intense boundaries, have to have intense clarity, and really having to have a strong self-esteem. Because if we're going to move forward, there's always people that are not going to like it, whether they view it as competition, whether they view it as abandonment, whether they view it as, who do you think you are? There's always this projection, there's always this piece, and then we have our own on top of it, right? And so there's a lot to deal with when we make that decision to move forward and to go after our dreams. And so you can see why most people don't do it. And you can also see why people live a life of mild happiness or dissatisfaction or whatever, wherever they are in that mid range of things are okay. Um, because by staying stuck in those dynamics, things don't become amazing. They're not excellent. They're not extraordinary. And our impact is not extraordinary.
So I'm hearing there's a whole lot to go into. This is maybe overly simplified. Just standing in your truth and really seeking it.
Yeah, yeah. And realizing how much we curb that because, oh, how would so and so deal with this? How would this affect my life? How, what are my fears about this, what this would create? What would people think?
Hmm.
I remember for the longest time as I started doing this work, like not wanting to put anything on Facebook because people I grew up with would see it and thinking like, how are they going to accept this new version of me? And like just not wanting to feel the pushback. And I think those of us that are empaths, like we can feel people's responses to things. And, of course, aligned living is about being able to work with our gift of empathy to minimize that impact. So it's like 10% instead of 90% of what we're feeling. So we go, yeah, they didn't like that, but you know what? I can feel me a lot stronger and I loved it. And so I'm okay with them not liking it because I'm loving it. And who am I living my life for? And so to me, like when I look at what aligned living does and how that's affected my life, that's what's really allowed me to move forward because I was so stuck in my empathetic gifts that, how other people saw me and what it would force them to go through for me to step into my greatness and to step into my gifts. Like it was just too much for me to experience secondhand running from their field into mine. And as I learned to adjust the volumes to feel more what I wanted and to feel at a lower volume what they wanted, I was able to bring that into a correction of this is what I need to do for me. And I watch client after client do that. And I also see when people first come in to do this work, and that's exactly why they're stuck, is they can't feel their own calling louder than the resistance of the people around them or the situations around them.
So then how does that look? Right? Because if you're not willing to step forward because of your own feelings, the potential lens other people may look.
Pushback and judgment.
Yeah, right. Like it turns into staying at the job for too long, staying in the place too long, whatever place means. It could be relationships, it could be the job, could be the home, could be whatever the things are that are not supporting that forward movement.
Yeah, I mean we have to be willing to pay the price, right? And here's the other part is, are you willing to pay the price for things to stay the way they are? And so there's two prices, like, I mean, like that old saying, like, what is it that basically, going after your dreams is like, choose your hard, basically, going after your dreams is hard. But so is sitting around and not doing them. That's even harder. And so choose your hard. And so, what happens is we're talking about our identity shift, right? When we go, I'm complacent, staying in this place of, maybe it's excellence, but it's not genius, if we're going to borrow from Gay Hendricks' Big Leap perspective. And so to move, like, excellence creates a good life. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's copacetic. But to have an excellent life, to have a genius experience, to bring our greatest gifts, to know that fulfillment, to know that impact that you're having is the impact you're here to have, that requires us to go through a pretty big identity shift. And when we do that, we do get a little bit lost. We have to go through, I call it the haunted forest, because when we start to walk down that road, we go, I have no idea where I am. I have no idea what who I am anymore, because my external reference points are shifting. And what people often do when they do that, they go, God, I'm a little disoriented. I'm going to sit down in the haunted forest and I'm going to make sense of things. But in the haunted forest, everything is, illusions and delusions and projections and people throwing shit at you and all the stuff, like, and so the guidance always is like, align and keep moving forward, because when you stop in the haunted forest, all you do is get confused. All you do is get stuck, and people tend to wander back to where they came from, because they're not ready to really claim it. But if we just go, you know what, I am disoriented. I don't really know who I am right now. I don't really know what it is that I'm walking towards or what I'm even experiencing. So I'm just going to keep walking towards my light. I'm going to keep walking towards my direction. And eventually I'm going to pop out of this forest, and I'm going to trust that because I trusted myself to step into it. I was clear when I stepped into it, when I stepped forward. And so I'm trusting the decision I made from that place of clarity, not the decision I'm trying to make from this place of indecision and confusion and disorientation. And so when we see it through and walk out the other side of the forest, all of a sudden we go, well, shit, here I am. And I see the whole thing very clearly. And
So what is see it?
I mean, having a
What?
coach through the forest is absolutely huge.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's what we do, and we all have levels of it, right? Like I've felt more recently like I've been walking through a forest and going like, oh, I know this place. I've been getting messages going, oh, that's right. Don't stop. Like keep walking through because we're always breaking through another level. And then when we pop out the other side and go, oh, thank God I didn't turn around and go back. Thank God I didn't sit down in this confusion, but I just kept following this light, this path forward that I'd set for myself before I stepped into the confusion. Does that make sense? That because we do that, right? We get confused and go back, as opposed to going, there's a reason I walk forward and I'm going to trust that because once I get into the confusion, it's not a place to make the decision anymore.
Hmm. So what is moving through it look like, right? If it's and why is the forest haunted? Because there's all these nasty things in there. Is that what's happening?
It's because we're breaking through our own limitations. And so we get confronted with our old identity and what we think we're capable of, what we're not capable of. It's walking through the shift in all the agreements in our lives with relationships and how people have seen us
Mm-hmm.
and the projections that come with that. When people step into their greatness, it's very seldom, particularly if they're doing it from a place of like, okay, everything's fine, but I'm just realizing I'm kind of miserable, right? Like I can sustain this. I can live this out, or I can really go for this next version of me that wants to come here and impact the world in a massive way. And so when we make that choice, um, there's going to be people around us that will try to destroy us, for lack of a better word. Like, how do I rein you back in? How do I hobble you so you have to come back and be who I want you to stay as? And so, we get all kinds of projections on us. We get all kinds of stories. We get all kinds of blame. We get all kinds of, whatever bullshit that people throw on us, asking us to diminish ourselves to come back. And, it's human nature, right? And so we can take it personally and go, I can't believe you're doing this. Or we can just go, yeah, I'm just not interested in being taken down by this. I know as I step forward into this, there's a reason I step forward. I trust it. I'm super clear as I walk into those woods. And I know I'm going to get confused. I know I'm going to get disoriented. I know I'm going to get tempted by the people trying to take me down to believe them, or by the situations, or by my own self-doubts, or by my own judgments, or my old memories of ways that I couldn't step up in the past and use those to take myself down, like whatever they are. Or we can go, you know what? It's time. And for so many people right now, it's time. And I'm seeing this with client after client where they're just like, it's just time for me to break through. I've tried 10 times in my life to break through this, and I've retreated each time. Today is different. I'm not retreating anymore. I see my path. I see what I have to do, and I'm going to step into this discomfort of this and go for it, and
Mm-hmm.
deal with what that means, because
Mm-hmm.
I know the payoff, and it's incredible.
So what is like I don't know if this is the right question, but it feels like there's a key, right? There's something that opens that door to move through it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether it's enough is enough, whether
Hmm.
like I've been here for too long and good was good while it was good and now it's shit.
Hmm. Hmm.
Or there's a potential global event or or national event that changes.
People's fuck this moment.
Right. And whatever, your perspective one way or the other sort of doesn't matter, but
Hmm.
but something seemed to have changed.
Hmm.
Um, so or is it different for different people?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for some people, it's what kept them stuck, disintegrating, falling apart. Whether it's relationships that fall apart, work situations that fall apart, um, you know, people passing, animals passing, like all those things, like whatever disrupts our
Mm,
nest that we're living in,
Oh,
sometimes the nest falls apart. And other times it's going, I can't live in this nest anymore. And like they're both really hard in their own way because I think it's more disorienting for the folks whose nest falls apart because
yeah,
they're just like, well, I'm just standing here. Like I didn't choose this, even though at
yeah,
some level they did. And those of us that walk forward and go, I can't stay in this nest anymore. I'm realizing this nest is toxic, like it's a trap, and I gotta
yeah,
go. Like in a way that's almost easier because, but then we also have to deal with the blame that comes with that because like the projection of abandonment, the projection of anger, and all the things for the people that
yeah.
said, why aren't you staying in this agreement that we've set together that says you're going to diminish yourself in this way in order to make this work? And when we're unwilling to do that anymore, I think that's where our self-esteem has to be really strong if we're the ones choosing to leave the nest. But if the nest disintegrates, we also have to have this determination to this, and it is still a self-esteem. It's a belief in self that goes, I'm lost right now, but I know if I keep walking, I'm going to pop out of this forest and I'm going to have the clarity.
Hmm.
And there's a part of me that's been trying to do this for years. And apparently now the universe is forcing this on me.
I was just imagining. I think there's a TV show. I think it was CSI,
Mm.
right? And they're doing these psychological, what are they called? Um, the behavioral
Profiling.
crimes unit. Yeah, profiling, right? And they're
Mhm.
like, who's this person? What do they look like? And then they would frequently use this phrase like, so what was like, oh, and that was the trigger. Like
Yeah.
that the tipping point with the
Yeah.
thing
When they
that went
started
from
to commit their
yeah,
crimes or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. And so we're not talking about crimes. We're but but
Depends
there is a
on whose perspective it is.
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
You,
Yeah. Right,
you,
right, right.
you took the crime
That's true.
of
That's
leaving
true.
the
I mean,
nest.
look at the entire psychedelics category, right? It's completely illegal. Also, there's a lot of play in there. Um, but I mean, there's an event. There's like this lead up, and then there's ripping the band-aid off. Something rips the band-aid off, and then you get to choose what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's a
sometimes it's you
pivotal
stepping
moment.
forward, sometimes it's the trapdoor falling out from underneath you. But either way, there's so many people right now that are going, shit, like now is the time. And whether I'm choosing it or it's choosing me, now is the time.
Yeah,
And I mean, there's a whole bunch of people too that are sitting there going, shit, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with
yeah.
this? Like, I feel like I can't stay here, but I can't leave. I feel like I can't keep doing what I've been doing, but I can't, like, I don't know what to do next. And it's amazing how many people are in this kind of dilemma. But what's happening too is that dilemma is there's something that's falling apart that's forcing it, that is just going like, we're not building these traps anymore where everything's just kind of okay and we're staying in it. Like if you're in that situation, you're probably finding it starting to erode right now. And going and like and then there's this piece of like, well shit, what am I going to do? Like how do and a lot of people are doubling down and trying to hold it together. How else can I sacrifice myself to make this work? And a lot of people are going, okay, like this is when this happens, and this is what's required of me. And like whether it's work or whether it's a relationship or whether it's a living situation or whether it's whatever it is, people are experiencing it right now, and it's intense, and it asks us to get really clear on who we are and what we're here to do. And to me, it's super scary and super exciting at the same time. And big changes are afoot for so many people. And like I said, for some of us it's forced, and for some of us it's going, okay, I got to find the strength in me to step forward and leave the
Hmm.
nest. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's an
Hmm.
intense time, but why is this happening? Because we have a lot to bring, and we can't stay stuck. We can't hide anymore. And if you came onto this planet with a mission, the universe is making sure that you play it out, even if it means that you're going through a period where you feel so shut down that you can't do anything with it, because that
Yeah,
is the preparation for having your power to do it, having the
yeah,
right
yeah.
setting to do it.
Yeah. When I'm feeling a little gonna sound funny. When I'm feeling a little playful with myself.
Are
I
we getting off
and
topic, Nick?
I don't think so. We'll see where this
Okay.
goes.
All right. I'll trust you. I'll
Um,
trust you where we're going with
phew. Um,
it.
and and things are getting tricky,
Hmm.
and and then media does what media does, and you're
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
wow, like it's a little banged up out there, right?
Hmm.
And you can sort of like shrink
Hmm.
into nothingness, or
Hmm.
you can distract into the next
Hmm.
task that has to get done. Yeah,
Hmm.
that happens for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's moments of you chose to be here, you dope,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
You signed up for this when you got here.
you signed
Yeah.
up for
You
it.
have a
Yeah,
mission. Yeah.
you actively chose to be here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those two other things, and there's a whole list of other things.
Hmm.
Like that's that's go there, but
Hmm.
that's temporary. Like you got a slingshot out of that
Hmm. Hmm.
because this is the time. This is the situation to move through, to discover, to step
Yeah.
into, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I think to like because of the political climate right now, here's what some people do is they go back into the battle. And whether it's in a relationship, whether it's at work, whether it's in politics, we go, I'm
Yeah,
going to go back and keep fighting in this same arena. And what some people are being called to do right now is step out of that arena and go, like, it's all losing. Like there's domination and
all
there's
of it.
victimhood and there's like it's all losing. I got to step forward into doing what I'm here to do and trust that that's what changes the world
Yeah,
rather than getting hurt or getting dominant or whatever that is in that same container. It's like, well, what am I bringing to the world? Well,
that's
you
right.
know, it's and people are so ready. Like it's funny. I was just seeing this vision of like, SEAL team like going on a mission and they show up and they're like, oh my God, they're shooting at us. Why would they do that? Like, and getting upset about it and then sitting down and having an emotional experience with getting shot at, right? Versus going like, okay, well, we're on a mission. Like we're, moving through. And I'm not saying that what our life's a battle, but we do that. Go like, why would you do that to me? Versus what do I want? What am I here to create? Where's my effectiveness? And I'm not, it may sound like I'm mocking that victimhood piece, and I know I have that part in myself at times as well. But when we can look at it through that lens of like, why am I sitting here getting hurt? Like, of course, people are behaving the way they're behaving. What do I want? Where's my effectiveness? What do I want to create, regardless of the pushback, regardless of the judgments or the projections? And that I saw another quote the other day about that. That when you focus on your own integrity uh, over your reputation, like that's where it's at because integrity is your relationship with yourself and your reputation is what other people think. And like that whole piece of like when we step forward, that says people love to attack our reputation
Hmm.
and try to make you feel bad about yourself, whether it's your
Hmm.
reputation in the family, whether it's your reputation at work, whether it's reputation in the world. Like people will go like, how do I rein this person in? Um, and we have to just go, you know what? Like, sure, there's a part of that that hurts, but what's effective right here? Do I sit down and go, gosh, why are they being so mean to me? Like, well, they're being mean to me because you're threatening their status quo. And when we threaten people's status quo, like they get vulnerable and they get fierce. And so we have to know that we have to keep walking forward, that we can't just sit down in that haunted forest and go, gosh, people are being so mean to me as I step forward. Why aren't people supporting me? Like, well, this has got to be your mission. This has got to be you choosing. And then the people that are going to support that will show up.
Hmm.
But there's also going to be a whole bunch of people that don't want you
Hmm.
to change.
Hmm. Yeah, if you're changing the game, then different players are going to show up in that game.
Absolutely. And if that's where your focus is, if your focus is on why are these people being mean to me, then a whole bunch more mean people will show up. But they're
Yeah,
not being
different
mean. They're
players.
going in my desperation to keep you the same. How do what strings can I pull? What tendon can I cut? And people behave in astonishing ways when they're in that perceived threat.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
All
Powerful
right.
conversation, man.
Hmm.
And so it's amazing how thematic that is right now. And so if you're the one stepping forward and experiencing that, like know your truth. Keep walking forward. Know why you decide to do it, not getting stuck in the confusion as you're in that haunted forest. And if you're the one with somebody else moving that it's actually disrupting your nest, like start to go, well, why is this, what is this setting me up for? And we can move from that, like when you're the one whose nest has been disrupted, whether again it's at work or relationship or wherever in the world, politically, like your country, this, why is this happening to me versus, what is this calling me forward with? And do we go back into the same battle and double down on it and try to pull things back together, or do we create a new environment that actually thrives for us and we thrive in? And that's really like, if you're fighting to bring the status quo back, it's a never ending battle, and it just breeds victimhood. If you're fighting to create what's fertile for you and how you want to show up in the world and what's inspiring and how that's going to change the world, that's where all the power is and all the sense of self and all the, the incredible relationship with self and self-trust all comes in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good shot.
Yeah. Great conversation, Nick. Powerful. So we'd always love to hear from you. And if you're needing support with this, it's also what we do. It's why we're here. And it's fun. We just graduated a new batch of Aligned Living coaches. And so there's the army of support continues to build, the army of folks that are getting this out into the world. It's so fun to train coaches and give them these tools to work with people. And so if this is calling to you, reach out through the webpage. And, there's quite a few of us now that are doing this work that can support you.
I'm just throwing this out there as a guess. It may be a good time. It could be.
Nice. Maybe it's a good time for people to receive that.
Guess. It's just a guess.
Good guess. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening. And as always, and we'll see you next week. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.